Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I'm bringing you guys my Exodia GOAT deck profile. This is a super duper fun deck to be able to run for GOAT format. It allows you to run stuff like Royal Magical Library, which allows you to just draw a zillion cards in your turn and be able to FTK your opponent, as long as you can draw the nuts, which this deck can do very, very consistently. It is a whole bunch of fun, at least for you, and usually your opponent is pretty excited to see if you can get all of the Exodia cards together. So overall, everyone has a pretty good time when you bring this to the tables at GOAT format events. So if you guys are new to the channel, definitely go ahead and subscribe for more GOAT format deck profiles, as well as just regular modern TCG format deck profiles, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, let's get on into the profile. So we are running, of course, the 5 pieces of Exodia, and as you guys can tell, I am putting this together right after Battles of Legend Crystal Revenge came out. So I do have all of the Starlight Exodia pieces. It was a big, big goal of mine to be able to pull these together. I got the left arm from my buddy Mike, who is one of our patrons, and I got the right arm out of my own pack. So just had to go ahead and pick up the rest of them. But Exodia is the main centerpiece of the deck. You are trying to get to him. So that is the main goal. Obviously, we are trying to get to the 5 pieces of Exodia so that we can automatically win. We are mainly getting to that win condition by means of Royal Magical Library. This card is just so good for the deck. You need to be playing this card at 3 copies, and then basically just the whole rest of the deck is spell cards. So there's a few other trap cards that you might be tempted to run, stuff like Jar of Greed and like Appropriate and stuff. Appropriate is actually pretty good in the side deck in case your opponent is playing something like this where they're playing a stall deck, or they're just playing a deck that draws a whole bunch. Then you can definitely go ahead and put in stuff like Appropriate. But getting on into the draw spells now, we have 3 copies. I guess I should explain even more what Royal Magical Library does. So Royal Magical Library, every time that you activate a spell card, you are able to put a counter on it. And then if you get 3 counters on it, then you're able to take the 3 counters off in order to draw a card. So basically, you're just looking to use a bunch of spell cards and loop as many spell cards as you can, and that is basically the main goal. So we are running 1 copy of Graceful Charity, 1 copy of Pot of Greed, and then 2 copies of Upstart Goblin, just for our very traditional draw spells for the deck. It just overall, these cards work super duper good to be able to get you into the stuff that you need. Then we're going to move on into 3 copies of Reload. This card kind of feels bad sometimes when you have 4 of the 5 pieces of Exodia in your hand, and you just you want to hold on to them, but you need to be able to get to your Royal Magical Library as well. So the reloads just give you extra chances to be able to draw those. So if you use Pot of Greed in your opening hand and you can draw into a reload, if you don't have the Royal Magical Library, you can still do that. Your deck's going to be a little bit more thin, and hopefully you'll be able to get to that as soon as possible. But we do have a few other stall cards and whatnot in the deck to be able to make sure that you can survive. But also in GOAT format, there's not a lot of other OTK decks. You obviously have big beatdown decks, but they still take a few turns to get all of the stuff. Like Benkei can sometimes OTK you, which is obviously the name of Benkei OTK, but still it might take a while for your opponent to OTK you. So you still have a few turns, but generally what we're trying to go is for the FTK. So Reload is going to help you with the consistency. And then kind of your extra way to get to Royal Magical Library is card destruction. We have a ton of ways to get the Exodia pieces out of the graveyard. So overall, card destruction is not too big of a deal if you have to get rid of a few of your pieces in your hand. Then we have 3 copies of Archfiend's Oath. This is the secret weapon of the deck, because with this card, you're able to pay 500 life points, call a card name, and then if you reveal the top card of your deck and it is the card that you say, then you get to add that card to your hand. If not, the card that you reveal off the top of your deck goes to the graveyard. The beautiful thing with this card is the fact that if you have all of the limbs of Exodia, but you just need the head, then you just go ahead and call Exodia the Forbidden One. Or if you have a way to get Exodia back from the graveyard, like Monster Reincarnation, or a card that we will get to in a little bit, a Feather of the Phoenix. If you have this in your hand, you can just go ahead and call Pot of Greed or Upstart Goblin. If those are the cards that you need, you can call cards that you need to be able to add to your hand. And then if you reveal Exodia, you can mill Exodia, and then you can always add it back with some of those recursion cards. Overall, this card is really, really nice to just be able to thin the deck and be able to weed through it even better. And then another card that pairs pairs amazingly with it is 3 copies of Convulsion of Nature. So what Convulsion of Nature does is that it makes both players flip their decks upside down, so you're obviously able to see what cards are on top. So let's say that you have Archfiend's Oath and Convulsion of Nature face up, and then you have the final piece that you need is the left leg of Exodia, or left leg of the Forbidden One. Then you just go ahead and call the left leg of the Forbidden One, and bam, it is right there. You can add it into your hand just like that, right off of the top of your deck. Overall, like, this combination is just so good. It's basically an upstart goblin once you get them up on the field, because you just have these. You pay 500 life points, and you're able to add whatever you basically want from the top of your deck. If you have cards like Giant Trunade, which we will get into right now, Giant Trunade is going to allow you to be able to keep repetitively using those. And then if you have Royal Magical Library, so let's say you have Royal Magical Library, you activate Archfiend's Oath and Convulsion of Nature, you now have 2 of your 3 counters, and then you can activate the Giant Trunade. That is going to be your 3rd counter, and now you get to add those back into your hand, and now you're able to draw, you're able to use these again, you're able to get a free card, and then you have your 2 out of your 3 counters again. So overall, this combo is just so good. These 3 cards really make the deck run around with your Royal Magical Library. Then for the recursion cards, we're playing 3 copies of A Feather of the Phoenix. This card is mainly in here to get Exodia back from the graveyard, but also if you have a big power spell, you're able to get those, and the card goes back to the top of your deck. So again, if you have Convulsion of Nature and or even your Archfiend's Oath, this card just works really well in tandem. So you activate A Feather of the Phoenix, put Pot of Greed back to the top of your deck, activate Archfiend's Oath, call Pot of Greed, reveal the Pot of Greed, and then you're able to add it back into your hand. So all of these cards just work in tandem with each other to help you to get as many cards into your hand as possible. Then we have 2 copies of Dark Factory of Mass Production. This card gets you 2 normal monsters from your graveyard back to your hand. So this is just a great way to get those Exodia limbs back to your hand. You can't get like the head of Exodia with it, but you can get the other pieces. Then just for more ways to thin out the deck and like get more counters on Royal Magical Library, 3 copies of Toon Table of Contents and 1 copy of Toon World. Toon World, another card that you can activate, put face up on the field, and then just Giant Trunade, and then be able to activate again. As well as other continuous spells, we have 2 Messenger of Peace and 2 copies of Level Limit Area B, just to stall out our opponent, and then also 1 copy of Swords of Revealing Light, just for an added bonus. Being able to have this, being able to bounce it back into your hand and stuff is just overall really good. And then 1 copy of Premature Burial to round off the 40 card main deck. The Premature Burial is in here mainly for the fact that you can use this along with your A Feather of the Phoenix. So let's say that you have a hand where you open Royal Magical Library, A Feather of the Phoenix, or instead of A Feather of the Phoenix, you open up with your, where is it? The Graceful Charity. So Graceful Charity or Card Destruction, being able to get Royal Magical Library into the graveyard. These are just extra ways to make sure that you can get it out onto the field. So if you open up Graceful Charity, activate the Graceful Charity, you draw into some Exodia pieces or something that you don't want to get rid of, or some other really good power spells. Royal Magical Library, discard it into the graveyard, activate Premature Burial, bring it back, and then if you draw into another Royal Magical Library, you can just normal summon that, and then if you can get 2 Royal Magical Libraries on the field along with enough spell cards in your hand, you are going to win, because you're going to be able to draw so many cards. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. All of these cards in tandem with Royal Magical Library all just work so good. The Archfiend's Oath, the Convulsion of Nature, the Giant Trunade, all of these cards just can create really cool boards and hand loops and whatnot. So really highly recommend this one. If you guys did enjoy this deck profile, again, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. I would really appreciate it. Stay tuned for a combo video. I will be doing just sort of like a little hand test and combo video for this one. I usually don't do it for GOAT format, but I thought that this would be a really cool opportunity to show you guys what the hands can do, generally how consistent the deck is and whatnot. So would really appreciate it. Also, go ahead and check out all of the links to the sponsors down in the description below. I would also really appreciate that. Mammoth Headwear, I just want to give a big shout out to them for doing great Black Friday deals and all that stuff in the upcoming Christmas season. So thank you guys again so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.